Hey, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Estudiamos podcast, where we talk about all things wellness, creativity, and building lives that feel deeply nourishing to us. I'm Natalie Q, your mindfulness artist and host, and I'm so glad that you're here with me today. And since it's February, the month of love, I wanted to dedicate this episode to self-love. But not the fluffy, Instagram-worthy version of self-love, y'all. We're talking about the real deal. What self-love actually means, why it's essential, and how we can genuinely show up and nurture ourselves. And yes, we're also going to address the elephant in the room, how self-love has become this oversaturated buzzword, and why it doesn't have to be that complicated or expensive to truly love ourselves. So grab a cup of coffee, tea, your favorite journal, or maybe you just want to get comfy, and let's dive into this conversation. Okay, so to start, what does self-love actually mean? Let's define it. Let's start by breaking down what it actually is. At its core, self-love is about valuing and accepting ourselves fully. Flaws, strengths, and everything in between. It's about knowing that you are inherently worthy regardless of these external achievements or validations. And now, let's talk about what self-love is not. It is not about being perfect, about buying luxury face masks, or hitting up every wellness trend. Those things are nice, but self-love goes much deeper than the surface level self-care. It's really about how you treat yourself when absolutely no one is watching. So here's a question for you. When was the last time you showed yourself kindness? Not just treated yourself to something nice, but actually spoke to yourself with love. Because truly that's where self-love starts. So please sit and reflect on this question because it's really, really important. So now I want to move on to addressing the oversaturation of self-love in media, because it's no secret that self-love has become this buzzword, because everywhere we look, there's a new product, course, or hashtag telling us how to love ourselves. And of course, while these things can be really, really helpful, they can also make self-love feel like another chore, an expense, or just something on our to-do list. Because let's be real, sometimes self-love feels hard. And we live in a world that really profits off our insecurities. And it takes real work to actually unlearn those messages. But here's the good news. Self-love doesn't actually have to look like an Instagram post. It can literally be as simple as listening to your needs and honoring them. And so, what's one way to simplify self-love? Okay, well, I'm gonna give you an actionable step. Starting small. Instead of trying to overhaul your life, focus on the one thing. Maybe it's drinking more water, saying no to something that doesn't serve you, or maybe taking 30 minutes to rest without guilt. It's little acts of love that build trust with yourself over time. And so great. Thanks, Nat. I love everything you just said. But how do we actually show up and nurture ourselves daily? How do we actually do it? Because it's often a lot easier said than done, and trust me, y'all, this comes from experience. So I kind of broke it down to 4 separate things that are very small that you can start practicing today, literally, as we're speaking, as you're listening to this. 1, practicing self-compassion. And this one's huge because as much as self-love and people say self-love is about always feeling good, it's not. Self-love isn't just about feeling good. It's about being kind to yourself, even when you're struggling, when you mess up, when you're having a bad day. So instead of beating yourself up, try talking to yourself the way you talk to a friend. And just say, it's okay, you're doing your best. Again, it's okay, you're doing your best. 2, set boundaries. Oh my God, and I know, trust me from experience, how extremely hard this is, especially as women of color and BIPOC women. It's very hard to do this because we weren't taught this as we were growing up. We were taught that we had to do everything for our families, everything for people. We had to be very giving. But boundaries are a form of self-respect. And I've learned that when you say no to things that drain you, you're actually saying yes to your well-being. And again, it's not always easy. It's not. But it's a really powerful way to begin nurturing yourself today. So remember, start saying no to things that don't feel good to your nervous system. 3, make time for joy. I cannot emphasize this enough. Sometimes self-love is just about doing something that makes your soul super happy. So that can be as simple as like dancing in your kitchen. I do this one a lot. Painting, coloring, doing a puzzle, reading a book for fun. Because honestly, y'all, joy is medicine. And I've learned that we don't have to incorporate joy every single day 24/7. But if we sprinkle little joys in our daily lives, in our weeks, in our months, you'll start to see and feel much lighter when it comes to life, because you're in between sprinkling these beautiful things. You're sprinkling joy, you're sprinkling magic in your everyday life. And so as much as it's great, of course, please, if you can, go to the spa for the day because that brings you joy. But what my point is we don't always have time for that. So sprinkle little things of joy, little moments of joy, and maybe write a list of the things that bring you joy, because that's first, being clear about what brings you joy and sprinkling those moments in your life. 4, create a self-love ritual. I want you to pick the one thing that you can do daily or weekly to reconnect with yourself. And maybe it's journaling, meditating, maybe taking a bath. The key here is that whatever you choose needs to be consistent, because rituals really anchor us in love. They allow us to show up for ourselves. So maybe just pick the one thing. Maybe you want to do it 2 times a week. Maybe you want to do it 1 time. Whatever that looks like for you, it's just about creating something small and being consistent. So I'm going to give you a journaling prompt as a little bonus, and I want you to really take the time to focus on this. Write about what self-love looks like for you. What does self-love look like for me? What do I need to feel loved and cared for? And how can I give that to myself this week? As you're listening to this podcast, how can I give that to myself this week? Not next week, not next month, not next year, this week. Okay, so I'm going to go over them because I know we went over a lot. 1, practice self-compassion. 2, set boundaries. 3, make time for joy. And 4, create a self-love ritual. So I wanted to explain the role of community in self-love, because here's the thing. Self-love doesn't mean you have to do it all alone. In fact, nurturing yourself can be even more powerful when you're surrounded by a supportive community. Whether that's friends, a journaling group, or a retreat, being in spaces that really uplift you is an act of self-love. And I've seen this magic happen so many times at my events and retreats. When women come together to reflect, share, and support one another, they leave feeling so connected, not only to themselves, but to each other. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about creating these spaces, because I want you guys to show up authentically yourselves and really leave nourished by community, nourished and encouraged to really move forward with your self-love, with your self-care, because we deserve it. We truly deserve it, especially as women of color. We deserve this. Our ancestors have fought for this because we haven't done this. 100 years ago, they couldn't do this. So remember, we deserve to be in these spaces. We deserve to be in community. We deserve to not do this alone. All right, y'all. So I know I went a little in there. I got really excited. I get passionate about this. All right. So it's time to wrap it up. And I'm going to give you a little rundown of what we just spoke about. Self-love is about embracing yourself as you are, not as society says you should be. It's about small, meaningful actions that nurture your mind, body, and soul. And it's about finding joy, setting boundaries, and leaning into community when you need support. And of course, if you're craving more self-loving community, I am always going to invite you to join me at one of my upcoming events or retreats. We have a lot of cool stuff coming up. And these are really spaces where you can unplug, reflect, and reconnect with yourself and community in a really meaningful way, in a fun and joyous and creative way. So check out our website, Tu Casa Wellness, for more info on all the events, all the retreats happening. And of course, I have to end this by saying thank you for spending time with me. And remember, you're worthy and you deserve to love yourself fully. All right? So take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye.